Hello everyone, TimelessAct here. Welcome to my channel. Bringing you guys a reaction video this time called YouTube Change is Worse Than I Thought by Penguin. Uh, there's been some, it's always been an issue with YouTube, man. First, there was the Corey X Kenshin incident. Now we're into this situation. I mean, this situation has always been here all the time, but you'll see what I'm talking about once we play this video. But without further ado, before we go to this video, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this, and let's get into it.
Earlier this week, YouTube slyly pushed out a new policy change that has had a wildly large effect on tons of channels in terms of demonetizing their content, and as well as just generally making it very difficult for some creators to continue to produce what they have been. They still haven't said anything about this, to my knowledge, at least not publicly or clearly. They're remaining silent on it, treating it like it's the Coca-Cola secret formula here. They're, for some reason, very apprehensive to tell people about this, so I've become the unofficial messenger of letting people know what's going on. I made a video on this 4 days ago, and I don't want to just repeat myself here, but they released this policy change, and it's all in plain English, but it might as well be hieroglyphics because it leaves so much room for interpretation, and the way that it's currently being enforced seems completely random. But I'm going to go ahead and give you like the general breakdown of what I've talked about and also what I've now learned. So they've changed their rules around profanity, making it a lot more strict in my opinion, where pretty much all profanity is treated equally, whereas before things like fuck were considered a different tier which could lead to demonetization. Now, if you even say ass or, dirty butt, there's a chance.
Oh, what a joke! What a joke! Oh my god. What a.
If it's said within the first 8 to 15 seconds of a video. That's the safe space, like a treaty with YouTube, where if you violate it and you say anything that's not part of just standard Queen's English, you're going to get demonetized, no questions asked, and you can't really argue otherwise it's not going to get changed. However, if you've got the mouth of a sailor and you happen to say too many naughty words throughout a video, you can also get demonetized for that, but it's very unclear exactly what the limit is. What's too many naughty words? How many fucks are we allowed, No one really knows yet, but it seems all over the place. And keep in mind, since now there's no longer like a tier list of swear words where, fuck is S tier and we're afraid of that at YouTube, they're all in the same tier except for a couple exceptions like hell and damn. Now there's a chance that if you go on a shitting spree where you're just, mentioning shit, you get real heated in a game, you're like, man, you're such a pile of shit, the worst gamer of all time. Like, if you say that too many times, I believe it now carries a risk of demonetization since it's viewed in the same light as saying fuck a lot. That's all still very muddy, but they are clearly cracking down harder on profanity in general. And now I want to talk about something that I didn't even know existed when I made the last video that a lot of people have been talking about. And it's not 100% confirmed, so take it with a grain of salt. But there's something called auto-generated captions on YouTube, which I'm sure you've seen and used before, and they can occasionally have a conniption. Like, it'll get the words wrong when they try and transcribe them, and it just looks like a fucking game of Mad Libs. Like, it's completely all over the place from time to time, very off the mark, sometimes just genuinely gibberish, like someone waking up after a deep slumber and fumbling all of their words around. But as far back as 2018, these auto-generated captions can have an effect on the monetization status of a video. So if the auto-generated captions misunderstand a word, like in this example, they thought one of the words was porn, it can lead to a demonetization, allegedly. Again, this is all speculative, but since this new policy has been rolling out in such huge force with tons of channels being hit and this massive wave of demonetization, some family-friendly channels are getting caught here. And they're all very confused because they don't use profanity, they don't play violent video games, and yet they're still getting demonetized, and they've been wondering why. So they turn back to potentially the auto-generated captions getting words wrong, and in a couple of cases it seems like that seems to have been the culprit. So again, not 100% confirmed, and that may be just like a
I
fluke and
hope
happens occasionally, but
that's not
it is worth mentioning
true.
because I think it's statistically
Because if
significant
that,
in light of how strict YouTube now seems to want to be on profanity.
it's so
But the big
stupid.
one that I'm going to be focusing on today that I've learned a lot about recently is the violent content policy changes. I did mention it in the last one, but I've learned a lot more about it now. I'm going to talk about the violent gaming content policy changes in a moment since I already touched on those and I've only learned a little bit more about it. But where I learned a lot more is just general violent content, no matter what the genre: animation, hand drawn, cartoon, anything, like even just still images. So, in the last video, I mentioned that one of my most recent uploads got demonetized with this new wave out of nowhere when there's no profanity until like the very end of the video, and the only thing that pops up before then is our trailer for God Slap 2, which is an animation, and there is violence towards the end of that trailer. It's about 15 seconds worth of like blood and gore. But that comes at a minute 45 into the video, which is way outside of their 15 to 30-second grace period where they don't want anything violent. And it got demonetized. So I speculated it got demonetized because that content was deemed too violent. Even though I don't think it was anything disturbing or shocking over the top violence, I speculated that that must have been the case since profanity wasn't an issue. Violence also wasn't an issue in the early parts of the video or anything. It's just 15 seconds that does have some blood and guts.
For
I asked YouTube
15
directly, and my representative told me
seconds.
that I was probably right. Most likely, what caused that demonetization is it was flagged for being too violent to be monetized because of that one 15-second scene. Now, of course, I may be biased, but I really don't think that this is too shockingly gory and gross where people are going to be fucking puking after seeing it. But it did show me that not only are they cracking down on like violent gaming content, they're cracking down on violent content in any medium, even just animated. And I really just still don't think that this is that violent to begin with.
This
At least not
that
enough to
violent,
warrant a
in my
demonetization
opinion.
because again, this wasn't demonetized until this new policy rolled out. Not just video games, it's not just animated content, it's not just real life content where someone's like in a fight or something like that, or someone gets like a tooth knocked out. It's also just still images of just drawn images, like just a fucking picture, like a cartoon picture, not even an animated one, not even a picture that moves. I learned this by watching Comics Explained new video where he reviews our Godslap comic book. I don't know if it's just this policy hates Godslap or if this really does extend to just any kind of medium at all, including just still images, but regardless, Comics Explained posted this video reviewing issue 1 of Godslap. It was a very, very sweet review, and I really appreciated it. The whole team found it to be super, super nice, and I'm really happy to hear that he liked it so much. However, he got demonetized for even posting some of the frames. Now, there is violence and gore in the comic, of course, but once again, it's just comic book pages. I don't think it's anything that's like egregious and tasteless or anything that I feel warrants demonetization. It's kind of ridiculous just how strict this violent content policy
It
is. There's
really
no profanity in the
is.
first 30 seconds or anything. Everything from this video plays by YouTube's ad guideline rules, except for the vagueness of their violent content policy change. So just even showing some panels that have violence got him demonetized. So it is extremely strict. They are coming down very, very hard on anything that's not YouTube kids oriented, it feels like.
And that,
Violent gaming
oh, I will
content
spend
now
more
can
of
get
that
age
later.
restricted
Hold
and
on.
demonetized far more frequently than we've ever seen before. I've been on this platform since 2006. On this
So these Dead by Daylight YouTubers are going to be in trouble, man. It's Dead by Daylight content creators. It's Friday the 13th content creators. It's any violent kind of content creators is going to be in trouble. Mortal Kombat content creators have always been through in deep waters, to be honest, because Mortal Kombat is a very violent game. But keep on.
channel since 2007, I have never seen such strict enforcement of violent gaming videos. I swear to God, if you're playing a game where you're not giving kisses to the enemy to defeat them, you're probably going to get demonetized for it now. I've had a ton more videos on games get demonetized recently than I would have ever expected. Of course, I'm exaggerating a bit. I'm not trying to put the fear of God in anyone. I'm not trying to say that if you play Roblox Shadow Company and you get too many kills too quickly, the video's going to get demonetized for fucking violent terrorism because you piled up too many bodies too quickly. I'm just saying that they're cracking down on violent gaming content, and a lot of videos I've made on just normal shooters that weren't demonetized before are demonetized now. When it's not anything that's like shocking or disturbing or anything like that, it's just normal games. And if we turn our attention to the policy itself when it comes to gaming, it becomes even more confusing because in this policy here on what can earn ad revenue under gaming, it says graphic scenes like gory attacks outside the first 15 seconds of the video or violence that's unrealistic, all of that. Like, this is the old policy. Like, that sounds normal. The only difference is now it seems like they just don't want the video to start with violent gaming content. Like, they don't want the video to open and all of a sudden it's the scene out of Outlast where you're getting your dick cut off or anything. Which is, that's fine. That's not like the biggest change in the world that's gonna like ruin entire creators' channels or anything. It's pretty easy just to make sure that for
But it's unfair because it's like YouTube is trying to promote everyone. Like, you can go ahead and express however you want, but there's just some things that you. I mean, granted, like there are some things that should not be. I'll explain. I'll go more in depth later at the end.
15 seconds, you don't have like wild blood and gore splattering all over the screen. And also keeping violent thumbnails out of it is another thing that they clearly don't want. All of that's totally normal and totally easy to play around. But then I started scratching my head because when you go into the limited or no ad revenue section and go to gaming, again, the first thing makes sense, you know, don't want any gory shit or anything violent in the thumbnail or in the beginning. That they've made that clear. But underneath that, graphic game violence includes brutal killings or severe injuries focusing on bodily fluids and parts such as beheading and dismemberment. I get the bodily fluids. They don't want pee, poop, vomit, cum squirting all over the place. Okay, I get that. But dismemberment and, you know, severe graphic killings, what exactly does that mean? Like, I don't think in any of the gaming videos that most creators make, the focus is on the dismemberment and gore and, you know, like doing snow angels and intestines and blood on the floor. However, it seems like those videos are getting hit regardless just because there is that component to the games sometimes. And dismemberment in games has been commonplace for fucking 20 years now. Team Fortress 2, when you die, you can get like insta-gibbed, you have body parts and you explode into blood and stuff. Like, does that now count as being too severe because there is dismemberment there? I mean, shit, even in Roblox when I was playing those Squid games with the boogeyman Jim Wool, in a couple of the games, if you fail, your like arms and head pop off. Like, it's what is the line? This vagueness and this reluctance to communicate leads to this situation where the community can only speculate on what exactly is and is not allowed, because even though YouTube writes out their definitions of what is and is not advertiser friendly, the enforcement paints a very different picture. It's very hard to play by their rules when we don't have a clear understanding of what they are or how they apply to the platform. It is so fucking frustrating that I continue to have to get splintered information from a ton of creators as well as my own research, as well as my own YouTube contact, who also doesn't have all of the information at hand because internally YouTube doesn't allow him access to all the information at hand. So it's so fucking frustrating and so goddamn difficult. But it really seems like they're cracking down on a lot of things that make no sense at all. I just wanted to give a little follow-up here with more information I learned to keep everyone as knowledgeable on the...
Alright, I think that should be enough. So the main reason why YouTube is doing this is, I feel like, it's because of children at the end of the day. Because they don't want, like, they think about the children. You don't want your child to see all these brutal and violent things. Okay, first of all, isn't there already an app for kids to watch YouTube? Like, it's called YouTube Kids or something like that. So why do us content creators still have to, how should I say this? Like, I want to say downgrade, but like keeping mindful eye on the videos that we make and the language that we choose to use for kids still, while there's an app for kids to watch whatever the videos that they want to watch, whatever they want to watch. And I'm not also going off on YouTube as well. I'm also going off on parents as well, because parents want to complain and cry to these content creators and be like, this is unacceptable. How could you ever think about uploading this kind of video for kids to be watching? You should be ashamed of yourself. What did you do? Shut up. We are not responsible of taking care or being mindful of your child. That's your responsibility to keep an eye on that, not ours. My parents would never allow me to play rated M video games, for example. Like when Godfather came out when I was a kid, or Grand Theft Auto came out, or Saints Row came out. I wanted those games as a kid, but my parents said no because the game is not appropriate for kids. If my parents could do that, so can you. You cannot be afraid of telling your child no or disciplining your child. That's why there's delinquents out here nowadays, because a lot of parents nowadays don't want to discipline their child nowadays. I'm not gonna go over too much about, parenting skills, because to be honest, I have no right to be talking because I don't have a child, and I'm not a parent, but to an extent it's common sense really to like not let your child see a certain things like violent stuff, or hearing adults cursing, or seeing sexual scenes on there. You wouldn't let your child watch a rated R movie, right? Because it has all the stuff that I just listed, right? So if you wouldn't let your child watch a rated R movie, why would you think that it'll be okay to just, or like, allow a child to watch something that is not appropriate for a child to watch on YouTube? And another thing that I want to touch upon is with YouTube. YouTube really needs to us content creators and YouTube just need to have a sit down and talk of like, okay, here's what we want you to upload. We don't want you uploading these content because it goes against our policy, but you can upload these kinds of content because this doesn't go against our policy. Like, it's confusing, like he said, it's confusing on what YouTube is okay with or not okay with. And this is serious because money is involved in this. Like, people can literally lose their money if their videos get demonetized. That's why it's very stressful for content creators and to do these kinds of videos on YouTube, because they have to keep in mind for like, oh, I hope YouTube's okay with this or not. Like, we don't know. That's why YouTube is just needs to do a better job at communicating to us content creators, to be honest, because this is annoying at this point. And what's also annoying is that some other things that content creators upload, it doesn't even look that bad. Like what Penguin uploaded, where like at the end of the clip of the video that he was reacting to, I forgot the video was called already, but it didn't look bad. But all of a sudden it got demonetized because of that. So like, what's next? Like, us content creators can't upload ourselves playing fighting games now because it's gonna be like brutal or violent, something like that. It's like, I'm not saying that it's gonna happen, but it's like, like a what if scenario. So I don't know what's going to happen. This year is already starting to be stressful, to be honest. Even though YouTube has always been stressful, if it's not with the content, or not content creator, if it's not copywriting as being the issues, it's with the whole situation, the Corey X Kenshin situation, and now we're into this kind of situation now, to the point that there are more bad words that we can't say. Like, of course we can't. I mean, I get it. Not saying fuck or shit is a bad word, but I forgot the word that he said already, or what he said, like saying like ass or something like that. Now that's considered like a word that we can't say on YouTube now. I don't know, man. It's really not hard for me to adjust, to be honest, because I don't curse, to be honest. Even if I'm enraged or, get tilted in a video game, I don't curse. Okay, I mean, I do. But I wouldn't upload it on to YouTube, especially now, since cursing is now, any kind of curse word is bad for YouTube now. And that's for the violent video games, I don't really, most of my content, I don't really upload anything violent except Dead by Daylight, but I hardly ever upload myself playing Dead by Daylight because it's not a popular content for me to do. You know, most of my popular content is just fighting games, really. So, like I said, this could be easily resolved if YouTube just comes out and just explained it all of what is okay or acceptable versus what's not okay or not acceptable at this point. So, if you guys like this video, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more reaction videos like this. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later.